This is Matt for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by former world champion Mikaela Mayer. Mikaela, first off, thanks for joining us so close to Christmas. How's things?
Everything's going pretty good. I'm in better spirits now. Definitely went through the roller coaster of emotions, but through it all, I realized that I still have so much opportunity. I still have a lot of big fights to be made. People are still interested in what I'm doing. I still have an amazing contract with Top Rank, fight on ESPN. So I have a lot to be grateful for and still a lot to prove. So I'm motivated.
How long has it taken for you to sort of get this defeat out of your system? Because it was a very close fight. A lot of people were saying that you'd won the fight. Did it sort of hurt a bit more knowing yourself that it could have gone either way and you were looking back at it going, you know what, I actually won that? Is that what hurt the most?
Yeah, I think it hurts. It would hurt less knowing that I got beat by a better fighter. I feel like I could come to terms with that and, maybe, I don't know. But I think it hurts a lot when I felt like I won the fight.
Yeah.
And I was confident that I was going to get my hand raised. But, in hindsight, I wish I could have been in those judges' heads. If I knew that those judges were favoring her, I would have pressed her. You would have seen the Mikaela that you normally see, but I was following a game plan that I thought was working. But in hindsight, I would have just pressed her more.
One thing I will say is when you watch it back, and I saw this from a fan's camera, if you look at the big screens as the results about to get announced, the camera doesn't go to Alycia. It was just constantly on you, which made me think that you were getting the decision or that they were sort of prepping for you to get the decision. Have you watched the fight back and how have you sort of scored it? Because everyone's saying it was a close fight, but how have you scored it when you watched the fight back?
Yeah, you have to score each round. I know I lost the first 2 rounds, but I wasn't worried about that because I knew what the game plan was. And we knew she was going to whip that right hand. And so we didn't want to engage the first few rounds because she gasses out, she tires out. She doesn't pick up the pace. She sort of dies down, which is exactly what she did. I was in there looking at her facial expressions and her demeanor, and she was feeling defeated. I know she was. I know she didn't think she won that fight because at the end, when the cameras were on me, her head was hanging down like this.
Yeah. And
you never see me scream like that when I win a fight because what are you going to scream for when you know you won? So yeah, I scored it 7-3, 6-4. Do you want to argue with 6-4? But yeah.
But regardless of that, obviously disappointing for you, but it was a really talked about fight, one of the best fights of the year. The female division sort of leading the way at the minute with the fights that have been put on this year. You've seen Alycia since that. You had some flowers for her. Did you exchange words or just a little note?
No words, just the words that were written on the card. But I still feel like there's unfinished business there, and so I just don't give a shit anymore. I literally have 0 fucks when it comes to what anyone has to say. I'm going to keep this rivalry alive until I get my rematch because I feel like there's unfinished business. And maybe one day me and her can go be friends and hug it out, but not yet. Not now. So I decided to show up to a Matchroom card and just keep the rivalry alive.
Are we any closer to getting this rematch? Because I know she was talking about Undisputed, but I've seen recently you made comments about Choi being injured and avoiding that fight. So if she's not going to fight Choi, surely the rematch with you is the most lucrative on offer?
Yeah. You don't have to tell me that. I know that. Someone's got to go tell her that. And I feel like they will. I feel like Eddie's going to be in her ear saying, look, this is the next best move, her manager, her coaches. Because she'd be stupid to not capitalize on this rivalry that we've built. It's too big, and there's unfinished business there, and everybody wants to see it. So, but we always knew she wasn't that smart. If she was, she would jump on this opportunity for sure.
If the shoe was on the other foot and say you'd won, but people were saying it was a close decision, would you be happy to run it back with her, considering the build?
After I saw all the views and all the hype for this fight, I mean, if you just look at Top Rank's social media account, and millions of views for everything that we did, our press conference, our media, our weigh-ins, everything. So yeah, and listen, I had no problem with Choi going, or for Baumgardner going for Choi first, because I probably would have done the same thing. I win the fight, okay, the next goal is to go undisputed. But I wouldn't shut down, which I was fine with. Go ahead, go fight Choi, but don't shut down a rematch, because I mean, it would just be silly. So, but because she can't get that fight with Choi, I don't know what her and her team are talking about now, because Choi is just impossible, and they may never get that fight. She may just vacate once her injury is all healed up. Yeah, I don't know.
You've got doubts over this injury, haven't you? You put on Twitter, lamest champion in history.
Yeah, she's so lame. Nobody can get a fight with her. She doesn't fight anyone worthy when she's the longest reigning champion in boxing. Yeah. It's not okay, because women's boxing is on fire, and especially this division, and she's just holding us back. And I had to tell that to the president of the WBA leading into this whole rivalry. And I was in his ear about it. I'm like, look, you have this champion and she's not fighting anybody. She's not accepting anyone's offers. Like, what are you going to do about this? She's holding this division back big time. And that's why he made Baumgardner and Choi mandatory. I was hoping he would do that for me, but I didn't get the decision. But he followed through, and he did it for Choi versus Baumgardner. And now Choi is faking an injury. They were in negotiations all day, and then she suddenly is injured. So I hope they put a time limit or restriction on that. And if she doesn't get healed up in the next few months, she needs to be stripped.
I spoke to Bob Arum yesterday and asked him about yourself, and said that you had put a tweet out saying that you're 90%, I believe, that the fight's close to being signed off. Can you reveal anything or give any indication about who this fight is?
I can't tell you just yet, but you guys will find out pretty soon. But I've always said, immediately after that fight, I called my manager, Top Rank, and I was just like, get me a fight ASAP, and don't just get me a tune-up fight. Get me, I want a top contender. I want a Delphine Pursoon. And we offered her the fight, but she turned it down. She said she wasn't available, despite what she's saying on social media. Her team said she was not available for February or March, and her team said it's because she has a 2-fight deal in Dubai that they want to fulfill. So maybe they didn't tell Delphine about the offer, but it was there. So we took the second best option, and everyone told me to earn a rematch. You know, all Bum Bums fans, earn a rematch. Well, this is how I'm going to earn a rematch. Mm-hmm. That's what I can say about this next opponent.
Yeah, because you're not shy about asking for the big fights. I mean, there's not many fighters asking to fight Delphine Pursoon, because she's a nightmare for anybody. But you mentioned in the past and desires to fight the likes of Katie Taylor, Jessica McCaskill. So all these big fights, are they still the fights that you want, just the big names?
Yeah, because that's only what I'm going to be motivated for. Mm-hmm. I need to be motivated for these. I'm at that point in my career, right? Like where I should be taking on the best. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm motivated for. And I'm going to fight at 35 this next fight. Mm-hmm. I will still be available to come to 130 when they ask me. But I feel like I've sort of cleared out that division at this point, and it's time for me to start moving up and challenging other girls in division in other weight classes, which is what I've always said I wanted to do. So this fight will be at 35, and then I'm not stopping there. You know, I got 3 years left on my contract, and I want to go to 140 and 147. You know, there's big fights for me, and I can do it. I have the height and the size, so. And I think that's why women are, you know, just killing it right now, because we're going where the big fights are. We're taking challenges, and we're moving up all around different divisions.
Do you feel you will be comfortable moving up the weight? Because you mentioned there your height and stuff like that. Do you feel like you'll maybe fill out a little bit more and it'll, you know, benefit your fighting game?
Yeah, you know, I am curious to see how my body reacts to sort of moving up and, you know, maybe filling out and being a little stronger and more comfortable. I do get down to 130 in a very smart way. I'm not skipping meals, I'm not dehydrating my body. I have a really great team. And so I get down really in a really smart way and over a long period of time, over my whole entire camp, 8-10 weeks.
Yeah.
But, I am cutting muscle at that point. I am slimming down a lot. So yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see how I feel at 135.
Let's talk about this year as a whole. We've been asking everyone for their review of the past year, and it's been a huge year, especially for you when you retained your belts and you came to London. You had the cancellation, obviously sadly with the Queen passing. You went through all that and came back again for it. How do you sort of sum up this year for you?
Even though it didn't end the way that I had planned and hoped, it was such a great year for women's boxing and for myself. And my 2 trips out to the UK back to back, because the Queen had passed and we had to come back again. I came out early both times and did so much media. I mean, like, I did everything possible to sell that fight. And in the process, I feel like I built a really strong fan base, and the whole experience definitely elevated my career, win or lose. And that's another kind of realization I had to come to, like, outside the belts being gone, even though they're still right there, me not having the belts, not much else has changed. I still have a lot of things to be grateful for and a lot of opportunity. So I have to remember that. And ultimately, like, such a great year for me, and I'm just going to continue to capitalize on that for next year.
I think when you have fights like that, ones that people are still talking about, ones especially they want to see the rematch for, it's not a case of, your stock goes down. And it seems like everybody's stock on that whole card went up, whether they won or lost. How much did you enjoy being part? You mentioned the UK fans; they seem to have really taken to yours and Alycia's rivalry. Two Americans coming over, and everyone sort of bought into it. How much did you enjoy that whole experience as well? I know you got a Spice Girls shout out and everything sort of while you were over here as well.
Yeah, that was great too. It really was the height of my career. And I think it's another reason why it was so painful, because I had worked so hard to get to that point in my career, right? Yeah. Some people will fight their whole lives and never have that moment, that rivalry, that that build up, the views. It was insane. And it's what I've always hoped for in my career. It's unfortunate that it was followed up by such pain and sadness and depression, because I didn't get the decision, but it still did a lot for my career, and we moved the needle for women's boxing and set the new tone. So a lot to be grateful for.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back out in the new year. Hopefully get your fight announced soon. I'm sure everyone will be tuning in from this side of the pond. You got a message to all your fans, not just the ones in America, but the ones here in the UK?
Yes. Wow. I mean, I love the UK so much. I am not discouraged from fighting over there at all. I still getting a ton of support from everyone out there, and I'm pushing to fight out there again next, but if not next, very soon. I'll let you guys know. But appreciate everything and hope to see you at the next fight.
Brilliant. Well, look, Mikaela Mayer, always a pleasure. Hopefully we can catch up when you fight next announced. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks.